One of the Western world's major health problems remains skin cancer, which is brought about by inadequate skin protection and too much exposure to harmful ultraviolet light. Around 15 years ago, scientists from Arizona discovered a drug based on a naturally occurring hormone which increases people's melanin levels, giving them a normal and safe tan.
Well, melanin is the skin's natural protection against sun damage and against skin cancer. So anything that builds up melanin is going to give people additional protection from the sun.
Melbourne-based biotechnology firm Epitan is developing the drug, called melanotan, which stimulates the production of melanin in the skin. It works like this.
When a person is in the sun, ultraviolet radiation from the sun penetrates the upper layers of the skin and damages it. This gives the telltale red appearance, which signifies burning. The same effect happens in solariums. These damaged cells give off signals which release the natural hormone called MSH from adjacent cells which migrate to specialised tanning cells. These cells then produce the tanning molecule melanin. The melanin slowly moves into surrounding tissue, producing a tan in that area. This is the body's way of protecting the skin from subsequent sunburn. The person has a tan, but the damage has been done. When a person receives melanotan, the drug is dispersed all over the body and acts in the same way as the natural hormone, stimulating the cells that produce melanin. Melanin granules form a shield around the skin cell's nucleus and protect the cell's vital DNA from being damaged by ultraviolet light from the sun's rays. A protective tan is developed, but without the skin damage.
Epitan recently completed a groundbreaking Phase 2 human trial in both Sydney and Adelaide to test how the drug affected the degree and toxicity of sunburn. 81 volunteers of varying skin types received controlled levels of UVA and UVB radiation onto a small area of skin. A skin biopsy was taken from each to measure the level of resulting sunburn injury. The volunteers then received a regime of melanotan, the same UV radiation exposure, and another biopsy. The results of the trial were significant. Sunburn injury was reduced by more than 50% in the fair-skinned volunteers. There was a highly significant increase in skin melanin in melanotan-treated volunteers, and fairer-skinned people recorded increases in melanin of up to 100% in some areas. Professor Ross Barnettson, a world authority in the field of photobiology, ultraviolet skin damage and the immunology of skin tumours, ran the trials at Sydney University and said the results demonstrated that melanotan has protective benefits.
The fair-skinned people who had the melanotan had about half the skin damage after the melanotan study than compared with before.
This is a view shared by leading dermatologists.
I think it's reasonable that we could consider this an internal sunscreen. Melanin is our natural sunscreen, and this is a way of increasing the amount of melanin we've got.
The volunteers who took part in the Sydney and Adelaide trial reported success, both from a cosmetic and protection point of view.
I was very happy. It really did work. I was surprised that it worked so well, and it was noticed by others. People thought I'd been on holidays, but in fact I hadn't been. I mean, the tan was all over. You got tan in places where you wouldn't normally get a tan. So the drug was definitely working. I have no doubt about that.
Leading dermatologists in the United States are positive about the drug's future in the US market.
I think the market is huge. There are 250 million people in the United States, and I would say 80% of them are Caucasians who could benefit from this.
Professor Perry Robbins, head of the Department of Dermatology at the New York University Medical Center, believes melanotan would be used in conjunction with sunscreens.
Yes, and to use concurrently together. Absolutely. I think the more help we can in preventing skin cancer, the more fortunate we are. And definitely this should help reduce skin cancer and give people some additional protection.
And says he believes melanotan would be used both as a skin cancer preventative and a cosmetic.
There's no question about it. We'd have a group of patients who would look at this as an aid in protecting them from the sun. This will give them a suntan and help reduce the incidence of skin cancer. At the other end, you can take my children who are just past their teens, and they would look at this as a cosmetic, that it will give them that dark glow and make them look even more beautiful, and maybe hide a couple wrinkles. Because it's an injection, it will be registered as a drug, but I would not be surprised if its usage would be as a cosmetic. As I speak to younger people and ask them about it, they're absolutely ecstatic about it and will probably put the suntan beds out of business.
What about the FDA? What, in your opinion, would the FDA's approach to this be? Would they look favourably on a drug of this nature?
Well, the people who sit on the FDA panel are predominantly dermatologists, and I would believe that they would be of the same opinion that this is a drug that will help people.
Dr. Robbins says an obvious captive market would be the tanning bed industry.
Someone told me there's 1 million visits a day, and it's absolutely mind-boggling. And of course you realize dermatologists have been ferocious in trying to stop them, and I think this will help stop them by giving people a tan without using the sun tanning beds, which you know damages the skin.
So the market for this drug would at least be the market of the tanning bed industry.
Plus. It would be the market of the tanning industry plus.
This is a view shared by Dr. James Spencer, Vice Chairman of Dermatology at the Mount Sinai School of Medicine, who's been following melanotan's development for the past 10 years.
The indoor tanning industry is now a $5 billion a year industry in the United States. Dermatologists and physicians are telling people don't go, protect your skin. The public is responding. They're ignoring that message. They're going in ever-increasing numbers. Surveys of young people, how often do they wear sunscreen? Not very often. So where I'm headed with this is that the public wants a cosmetic tan, and they're not very interested in the health message. We as physicians want to give a health message. We don't want them going to the indoor tanning salon. So melanotan offers a way to bridge this gap. The public wants their cosmetic tan. They can achieve it safely. The doctors want to protect the public from skin cancers. This is a way to do it. So potentially I think it's a huge market, and I'll say that number again, $5 billion a year on indoor tanning.
Importantly, says Dr. Spencer, melanotan will give extra protection for people who spend time in the sun.
First off, the population clearly is not going to spend the rest of their lives living in a cave, nor do we want them to. We'd like people to be able to enjoy life, to work, to enjoy sports in a safe fashion. The current sunscreens we have are not perfect. They fail in the longer UVA range. They come off. People don't put on enough. And yet we still recommend the regular use of sunscreens because it's the best we've got. I think potentially having natural melanin, which would be evenly distributed, is probably going to be a better UV blocker than our current sunscreens.
EpiTan has developed a sustained-release solid injectable, which will allow the drug to be administered by a single injection to produce a strong, natural tan for at least 2 to 3 months. EpiTan recently announced that, following a successful meeting with the United States Food and Drug Administration, it would lodge an investigational new drug application in mid-2004. The company aims to have melanotan on the market within 3 years.